All right. So, apologies for the unexpected absence yesterday. I had to take my wife to the hospital. Everything's okay. Everything's fine. No, she wasn't having a baby or anything. Yeah.
I thought the reason class was canceled yesterday was because Microsoft had an outage.
Oh, did Microsoft also have an outage?
Yes, it did.
Oh, good grief. Well, that was convenient.
So that wasn't the reason why?
No, my wife had like combination of like an old injury flaring up, heartburn, and a panic attack because she thought she was having a heart attack because that's where it was. And, you know, that's kind of like where that's situation that you do take someone to the hospital for. Unfortunately, I had to. Yeah, no, we don't need Microsoft. We could have done the class without them somehow. But yeah, so Microsoft was out, eh? Interesting.
Yeah.
For how long?
From like 3 to 5.
Oh, well, there you go.
Yeah. Very convenient.
Very convenient. Oh, man. And when you say Microsoft, you mean Azure, right?
No, 365.
365. How does 365 go down? It's supposed to be 365. Eh. All right. So, okay. All right. I'm just gonna take the opportunity. All right. Local storage. All right. Local storage. If you don't have it locally, you don't have it. Okay. Never trust a computer you can't throw out a window.
This is why you on the OneDrive.
Yeah. Alright. Alright, so sorry, we're a bit behind. This week we're doing object-oriented programming. Also, code review. I hope everybody started their assignment before they got to this class today. So, in the last hour-ish of class, I'll give you some practice exercises to work on, and I will ask you to please also have your submissions for assignment 1 that you've been working on, in whatever state they are in. Please have those open on your computer, and I'll come around and I'll take a look. Okay? And you'll get, remember that 40% of your assignment grade is for this code review. So, if any of your compatriots are skipping class, tell them to get their butts in. I know you guys are on the phones. I know you guys have the Discords. Yeah?
I'm hopefully not doing stuff on there.
Yeah. Well, you know, I mean, cheating is cheating. Don't cheat, right? But, yeah. So, yeah, I know. There's the secret Discord that the professors don't know about, right? If I were not to play my cards or not to play other people's cards, possibly a little too you know, hard, but you know, when there are things like secret Discords that the professors don't know about, just, you know, be aware that those do occasionally get infiltrated. There is no such thing as privacy. So, object-oriented programming. Object-oriented programming used to be a grad-level subject at universities.
Why did they change it?
Because it became ubiquitous, right? It used to be, way back in the day, programs were written on punch cards. This meant that the programming language you were using was primarily a something similar to assembly code, right? After that, we had the development of compiled programming languages where you're not writing directly in computer programming code, or you're not directly writing in the CPU operations themselves. Subsequent to this, people were like, oh, this is so much better than assembly. But, man, these programs, they can get pretty bad and long, and we still probably shouldn't use gotos. And so, after a great deal of development effort and a lot of advances in mathematics, like a lot of this stuff comes from like formal papers written by mathematicians in university departments, right? Eventually we arrive at a system for organizing programming code, which is the one that we still use today. Is it the best system? We're not sure, but nobody's invented a better one yet. So this is the one that we've gone with. At the very least, no other system is sufficiently better to unseat this thing, object-oriented programming. Like, you guys know about like the QWERTY keyboard versus Dvorak debate? Yeah?
Nope.
All right, so QWERTY, right? These are called QWERTY keyboards because if you read along the top row, it says QWERTY. There is an alternative keyboard format called Dvorak. Dvorak centers the most frequently used buttons on your main fingers in the center of the keyboard, and less used keys go around the periphery. In theory, it's faster. You can type faster on a Dvorak keyboard than on a QWERTY, but unfortunately, the amount of time and effort to retrain yourself on a Dvorak keyboard is not worth it. QWERTY is good enough, right? So that kind of similar effects occur frequently inside of programming. But object-oriented programming. What is object-oriented programming? Well, it's programming oriented towards objects. So, it gets a little bit heady, it gets a little bit conceptual and philosophical, but here we go. What is an object? Not even necessarily in programming, but in a general sense. What is an object?
Anything that takes space?
Anything that occupies space. That's not a bad definition. Yes?
Something that can be referred to.
Something that can be referred to. Yes?
An inanimate object.
Inanimate objects. Well, here's a question. Are animate objects also objects?
I mean, some people might say yes.
Yeah? Like, is a cat an object?
I wouldn't call it one.
Um,
I would feel bad for it if I did.
See, it's interesting though, right? Because like,
I feel like the particular genre of people that would refer to a person as an object are not.
but see, now we're starting to introduce like the concept of objectification, which is not quite the same thing, right? When we're talking about objects in a programming code sense.
Yeah, but you said not in a programming sense.
I know, I did.
You specifically excluded that.
Well, I didn't exclude it. I said any definition. But anyway, so when we're talking about programming objects, we're talking about things with autonomous routines, right? So in fact, things in the universe which do stuff, which you wouldn't necessarily consider inanimate, are actually closer analogies to your programming code object than inanimate objects, if that makes sense. So it's by exploring these definitions I'm trying to get into what is a programming language object, right? So, all right. So an object, we've got various definitions of object. A thing that takes up space, a thing you can interact with, sure. Here's a question. Is a thought an object?
No.
No. Why not?
I would say that it isn't an object because it doesn't Well, actually, no, it technically does take up tangible space because it takes up the resources in your head required to create that thought.
There is a small amount of electricity that thought occupies.
It's certainly like it's a physical entity, right? According to like it, we're starting to kind of get into territory of like the boundary between the physical and the metaphysical, right? So, you know, a person with a little bit of philosophical training will tell you that like most people's kind of idea of metaphysics is very wrong, right? Like a lot of people will like misconstrue the idea of metaphysics with the supernatural, right? Which is actually incorrect. Metaphysical things are just simply things which are abstracted one level or more from physical reality. So like, for example, a person is a metaphysical construct, right? The concept of a person, right? Because if you were to examine the pure like matter of which a person is composed, you don't actually have the concept of a person, right? You have a collection of organs, right? So in that sense, most of the things that we deal with and talk about are actually metaphysical entities, not physical entities, right? When I'm talking about a chair, right, unless I'm referring to one specific particular chair, I'm speaking about the category of chairs, right? And categories are metaphysical entities, not physical entities, right? So you may be thinking to yourself, what on earth, what kind of class is this? But this is important because when we are talking about objects in programming code, we are talking about two things primarily. We are talking about objects and we are talking about classes. Classes are categories, right? Categories in the philosophical sense. Objects are particular instances of categories, right? So, you know, I am a professor. I exist in the class of professors. You could write a professor class, right? But I myself have my own particularities, as I'm sure all of you have observed. I am an instantiation of the professor class, right? Does this make sense? Sort of? So, I'm going to go through several sort of mental models for how these things work in the hopes that one of them sticks. Another way to conceptualize classes versus objects. A class is a blueprint. An object is the building that you build from it. Right? So, the class defines the structure of the thing, right? It tells us what it does and what data it holds. The object is a particular instance of that category. It has actual physical data in it, which the class does not necessarily. Excuse me. When we get into you know, various things down the line, we'll see that, you know, boundaries are of course a little bit fuzzy, but for the time being, an instance of a class is called an object, and it is allowed to have particular data in it. You can have several objects created from the same class. Each one can have different values for its properties, but the structure of the properties is defined by the class. Does this make sense? Question.
Wait, then, do methods come from the classes?
Methods are defined in the classes, yes. Methods are defined in the classes and used in the objects. Does that make sense? So, let's give a particular example. Alright? Let's say we have a class representing cats. As in, the small domesticated animal, cat, right? So, with a cat, what are some of the properties that a cat can have? Yes.
A tail?
A tail, yes. Some cats have tails, some don't. Right? So the presence of a tail is one property that a cat can have. Anybody else have a property of cats?
Fur?
Fur? Sure. Can you be a bit more specific?
Long fur, short fur?
Length of fur. That is something concrete. I like that. Yes. At the back side.
Skin.
Skin? Yes, cats do have skin. It's true. Did you have something?
Fluffiness of fur?
I'm going to correlate that with fur length. We probably can represent both under one category, but yes.
Fluffiness can also be affected by how soft it is as well.
Yes, the quality of the fur is
And how thick it grows. There's so many things that affect fluffiness.
yes. This is true. As programmers, though, we do need to make a few sort of generalizations generally. Yes.
Color?
Color, yes. Is the cat a gray cat, black cat, a blonde cat? What do you want, right? What else you got? Or is that good enough? I think you guys get the idea. Yes.
Claws.
Claws. Do all cats have claws?
All cats are born with claws.
Some are declawed.
That's true. Alright, so has been declawed would be a property. True or false? Yes.
There could also be a genetic defect.
This is
Genetic
also
defects
true.
would be maybe another method. Or maybe a bug.
Well,
A
Well, it's
poorly
interesting.
written extra method, and that could be compiled into another one.
have you ever heard of a genetic algorithm? Would you like to know how those work?
I would love to know how those work.
So, genetic algorithms are a form of machine learning that I think has kind of fallen a bit out of favor now, but have you ever seen those videos where they get like a bot to play a video game? These are typically done with genetic algorithms. So,
Oh, okay.
so you have a program with properties, right? You have some environment where the performance of the algorithm can be tested. You make slight random alterations to the values of the variables, and you basically run a bunch of tests. Whichever of those values of variables performs better, you use that as the base for the next set of changes. And eventually you can get like a bot that'll play like an infinite runner game reliably, that sort of thing. That's called a genetic algorithm. The idea is that you're using, well, it's not natural selection, right? Because it's not nature. It's artificial selection. But you're using something resembling natural selection to make decisions about which variable values are good, as opposed to having an analytic idea, like like a deterministic model for how the program will optimally operate, right? And this is why it kind of gets lumped into the kind of category of artificial intelligence. It's like, give us a category of algorithms where we don't know deterministically how the algorithm is doing it or what's going on, and that's kind of lumped into artificial intelligence, right? So, yes. So, classes carry a set of properties. For now, we will call them instance variables of the class. Classes also have methods. Methods are actions, verbs. They're things that the thing can do. So, coming back to our cat, what can a cat do?
Walk.
Sorry?
Walk.
Yep, cats walk, it's true. Translation in space, yes.
Purr.
They can purr, yes.
Land on all fours.
Yes, they land on their feet. You could probably decompose that into like that really interesting like mid-air spine twist thing that they do reflexively. Anything else? Bite, scratch, eat, sleep, poop. Right? Reproduce. All of these things. These are actions of the cat. In a programming context, these will be methods of the class. Does this make sense? Okay. Good. So, when you're programming in object-oriented programming, the way that you think about programming changes. You are no longer strictly concerned with procedure. All right? Up to now, the programming that you've been doing has been procedural programming, right? You are interested in, primarily, the flow of execution from one statement to the next statement to the next statement. This is the flow of your program. I introduce branching, I get different effects. I introduce loops, I can repeat sections. But fundamentally, I start up here and I go down there. Right? We must change how we think about programs. We now think about programs in terms of interfaces. Objects and their interfaces. So, let's say, just because, it's a video games lots of people have played, right? Let's take a simple video game, something like an old Mario game, right? You guys are all familiar with the old Mario games? Yeah, okay. So, if we have a level in Mario, and we have our Mario, who is a little bean with a hat, and then we have an enemy, right? In object-oriented programming, we consider this guy to be an entity. We consider this guy to also be an entity. These guys have actions, right? The sort of eternal paradox of the side-scroller. If we come up down on top of him, he dies. If he gets us from the side, we die. Right? Both of these objects will have a method which results in their death. Right? That method gets activated in different ways, depending on the position of one thing relative to the other. Right? But we are not thinking in terms of a procedure, right? We are not writing a loop that's constantly, every frame, checking to see if this guy has collided with that guy in a particular manner, to see if, And we don't take the Goomba death code and we put it in one side of the loop, and the Mario death code and we put that in the other side of the loop, in the same loop. We don't do that, right? What we do is we say, the code which governs the death of a Goomba belongs to the Goomba, right? The code which governs the death of Mario is appropriate for Mario. That's who it belongs to. So we package that code up with the entities it operates on. Once we've done that, the Goomba, having landed a successful attack on Mario, calls Mario's death method. Mario, having jumped on the Goomba appropriately, calls the Goomba's death method. Right? But this is a different way of thinking about it, right? We're packaging the code which operates on an entity with the entity itself. Does that make sense? Any questions? I'm seeing some stern looks from the crowd. All right. Yes?
Is it the code review for assignment 1 today?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. We'll be doing that in the later portion of the lesson.
Oh, okay.
I'm going to get you to the point where you have some exercises to work on, and then I'm going to ask you to pull your code out, and then we'll do a code review. So, let's consider Pong. Has everybody seen the game Pong,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah? Good. So within the game Pong, if you want to think about it procedurally, you can do that, right? But if we're thinking about it in an object-oriented fashion, what are some of the objects at play here?
The ball
The ball is definitely an object, that's right.
in the paddle.
The paddles are both each an object, yes. So here's a question. Are they objects of the same class? Yes, I would say so, right? Certainly, one is hooked up for player input, the other is hooked up for autonomous behavior, but they are the same category, right? This is why I'm kind of banging on this idea of categories, because you really need to understand that a class is a category in the traditional plain English sense of the word category, right? So, anything else? We have paddles, we have the ball.
Would the numbers be considered as well?
The numbers, sure. So, what you would often have in this type of a situation is you'd have some sort of controller script, right? This would also be an object, but it's not one that necessarily corresponds to an entity on the board, right? The numbers here are like text box output maybe, right? Those would be their own objects. But the thing behind those, which are controlling them, the thing that puts the ball back to the center of the screen when a point is scored, perhaps even the thing that detects when a point is scored, is a subroutine sitting behind all of this, right? The game controller script. That is also it's also an object, right? So Java is an object-oriented language. So everything is an object in object-oriented languages, typically. The question is, how immediate is that, right? even things that you wouldn't think are objects, elements of the primitive types, integers, floats, those sorts of things, they still have wrappers which are objects. We'll get into using those a little later on, but yes, good. All right, any questions so far? Okay. So, right. So, for now, in terms of nuts and bolts, an object is a collection of variables combined with a collection of functions. The functions operate on those variables and provide an interface to them. Bless you.
Thank you.
So, if everybody could please open up IntelliJ, we'll try some stuff out. IntelliJ is installed locally on these computers. Thank goodness that we don't have to go through mobile cabs. Ho ho! Yeah. I was sitting beside Kevin Brown during orientation, and someone said something about cloud. Why cloud? And I leaned over to him and I said, because clouds make it rain. There's just a little joke for you. Alright, new project. Week 3. There we go. We're going to be not really talking about the JavaFX stuff for a bit. Not using it all that heavily. So, up to now, when we have created Java code, we've been primarily just kind of creating a main class. We've only really been using the class because that's the only way you have to get to the main method, right? But now, we are going to create classes, which are things we intend to create objects from. Of course, in order to do that, you need a main class to create the objects in. So if everybody could please create a main class, public class main. You don't have to call it main, but main, that's not correct. There we go. Can you see that at the back? Good. We'll leave that there for now. This will be our point of entry into
What do we call this project, sir?
Hey, what?
What should we call this project?
Oh, it doesn't matter in the slightest. Yeah. I called it week 3.
Should we have extra, or should we do add sample code or no?
I think it's good practice not to. But yeah, it's up to you. So, let's create a class. New Java class. And pulling on our previous example, let's call this class cat. Yes?
So like we just, so usually like a main class pops up, is it like that, or do we have to like make a Java class and call it main?
What?
So like for the class, we just go new Java class, we just call it main?
Yes.
Okay, I was confused because like normally just a main class often pops up with my stuff, but alright.
Yes. So, this is how you declare a class. The public, I think, is optional. I think you don't necessarily need it.
Default is protected, I think.
Yeah. You can leave it in there though. So,
Then it just creates that little red light bulb thing if we keep public in.
Yeah, it's supposed to be protected.
well, you can take it or leave it. It'll work either way. So, we declare a class using the class keyword. We don't really know what public means yet, so let's just kind of put that to the side for the time being. All right? So, this class will be a collection of data and methods. So, what were they again? Fur length. Fur length. What data type would we make fur length?
Double.
A double? Yeah, I'd say so. Otherwise, you're kind of just like going with broad categories expressed as strings, right?
Yeah,
Long
then
hair,
you have
short
to
hair.
String long, string short.
Yeah, but
We
if we
could
want
do
to
an
be
integer.
scientific,
We
right?
do an integer, but it wouldn't be as precise.
Well, when you're doing measurements of real distances, normally you'd want to use a real number type, right? Not an integer. So yes, let's make it double fur length. There we go. That's how you declare an instance variable. Again, if you know a little bit about this, we haven't quite gotten to protection levels, public, private, that sort of thing. Let's just go with it for now, okay? So, what's another one? For color, that I think we will express as a string, just because I don't want to like deal with the color object. There we go. Another one, let's see. Let's do Boolean. What are you doing? Get out of here. Boolean. Has clause. There we go. And that's probably good for now. You get the idea. So, even only this far, we have something useful, right? It is useful to be able to package variables up in a set together, right? So, now, let's see how we create an instance of this class in our main method. We've already seen this syntax. It's very similar to the way that a scanner is declared. You start with the name of the class. Class names are types. You can use a class name anywhere anywhere you would use any other type. Anywhere you can put string or int or float or void, possibly, you can put a class name. You then need to give the object a name. The name needs to be distinct from the class name. Let's call this cat, oh, what's a good name for a cat? Mr. Whiskers. There we go. Convention. Class names are capitalized. Variables and other identifiers are lowercase, at least for the first character. They are permitted to be camel case. This is an example of camel case. You know why it's called camel case?
Because it's like a hump?
It's got humps. There you go. So, if we put a semicolon down, that declares an object, but it doesn't create it. This follows on from our discussion of variables and how variables are declared a couple of weeks ago. If you recall, where's my marker? No, my blue one went. Oh, there it is. Okay. If you recall from last week, or the week before, although the following form is quite common, int x is equal to 5, you can in fact split these into separate operations. Declare integer x, assign that the value of 5. You can do the same thing with class declarations, and it's important that you understand that this works and how it works. We can then assign to this variable a new instance of the class. Mr. Whiskers is equal to new cat. Does this make sense? Thumbs up? I'm only seeing a couple of
So we're
thumbs up.
basically assigning it a new variable.
Well, yes. Objects are created and references to them are tracked in variables. This is an important thing to understand. Mr. Whiskers is a reference variable. He contains a reference to an object in memory. That object is not created until line 4. Okay? So, let me show you what's going on. So, let us consider this box as your computer's memory. All right? Our first line. Maybe if I pull this just down a little bit, eh? There we go. Line 3. We declare a new cat variable, cat reference, Mr. Whiskers. We create a box, we assign a little box in memory, and we call it Mr. Whiskers. As of line 3, this box, though it's created, does not point to anything. This is in fact a null reference. Null reference. In Java, if you take a look at the value of Mr. Whiskers after line 3, it's null. Null is a literal type. It's a literal, right? It's like 5 or 3.2, but it's also nothing. It's nothing except null, right? It's the empty value. But it's still a value. Does that make sense? Kind of. So, on line 4, we create a new cat in memory. Our cat contains other variables, the 3 variables that we had before, right? These themselves are initialized to their default values. And then what's that operation? The equal sign, what is that? That is assignment. That's right. What is assignment?
You assign a value in the memory.
That's right. So for example, if I had a program such as int x is equal to 5, x is equal to 10, right? On the first line, I create a cell in memory. Well, you don't create memory, you assign memory. Memory is hardware, you can't create memory, right? We are merely software people, we cannot pull matter into existence, right? We assign a cell in memory, we give it the value 5. Then, on this line, when x is assigned the value 10, the old value 5 is erased and replaced with the new value of 10. Right? That's assignment. Here, on line 4 of our program here, we are assigning the object to Mr. Whiskers, the variable. So let me ask you a question. Do 3 variables fit in a slot assigned to 1? No. But the thing that does fit is a reference. References always take up the same amount of space. It's a memory address. So, Mr. Whiskers is a reference to a cat object. Does this make sense? Very good, very good, very good. All right. So, a little bit of a tangent now, although I think you'll find it interesting. Does anybody have any idea what Java does when this reference is lost? Let's say that someone, created a new cat. This reference is reassigned to the new cat object. So this reference is broken. What happens to this guy?
Is that assigned? The new one is assigned as a reference?
This new cat is assigned to the same variable. What happens to the old one?
It gets erased.
It gets erased,
And then
not immediately, but it does eventually. So, Java, the Java engine, contains a subroutine called the garbage collector. Have you guys heard of garbage collection? Well, I mean, aside from street, actual real garbage. I assume all of you have heard of actual garbage collection. I also assume none of you have a garbage collection. That would be very smelly. A collection of old banana peels or something like that. Garbage collection in Java is a routine which periodically scans memory for objects to which there is no reference. It collects them and it deallocates them. It frees up the memory. It deletes the object and all of its contents. So, It's a very, very important thing to understand about object references. If an object reference gets broken and there's no longer any reference to that object, it is dead. It is dead and gone. If you want the data, you need to maintain a reference to the data. Otherwise, the data will be lost. But this isn't, this is kind of how computers work in general, right? Here's a fun fact about computers. Most of the time when you're deallocating memory, you're not actually overwriting it with 0. Some people seem to think that like when you delete something, it gets like overwritten with zeros or something, right? But this isn't actually the case. Most of the time they just, it's like, okay, that no longer belongs to you. It's like, well, are you going to clear the data? No, I'm just going to leave it. So my file that I just deleted is just still there. Yeah, you can probably find it if you want, but I'm not guaranteeing it's going to be there because I might overwrite it with something, right? So memory doesn't get cleared when you delete it, right? What happens is it simply says, I can potentially in the future overwrite this with other stuff. I'm not saving that memory anymore, right? So because deletion doesn't mean overwriting the memory and clearing the memory, because that takes time, memory gets junked up. You know, like if you have a RAM, you know, a segment of your RAM that's been used by several processes, the values in memory, the physical values in memory, will essentially be random, right? And these are a bunch of old variable values, right? A bunch of old variable values. So you might be saying to yourself, doesn't this pose a security risk? What if these were sensitive data? What if that was my password, right? Well, data with no context is meaningless. This is a very important principle in computers. Data with no context is meaningless. So if you were given some random bits out of memory, these are authentic, these were used by a program, but I'm not going to tell you what the program was, what it was trying to do, or what that was used for, there's no way that you can really understand what it was trying to do, right? The data itself doesn't really tell you anything about the program that it was operating on, right? Or the program that was operating on it. So, if you lose the context to the data is lost. It's useless. It is garbage. Does that make sense? Okay. So, very important, just don't do this and you'll be fine. Mr. Whiskers equals no. That line basically,
Is that?
well, it'll destroy the object, right? Sometimes you might want to destroy an object. Basically, this is not directly destroying the object. This is leaving it in the garbage can for the garbage collector to come along and throw it away. Right? Make sense? Try not to lose your references. Okay, so, alright. Hopefully everybody's following along with this and not working on their assignment. Not looking at anybody in particular. So, I'm looking at everybody in general, not any one person in particular. Alright, so we have an object. We now need to get information out of said object. Put information into said object. The simplest way to do so, although as we're going to see, this way of doing things is actually strongly discouraged, is by using variables directly. they are unprotected, the instance variables of a class may be used as variables in the regular sense. Whiskers, Mr. Whiskers dot fur color is equal to red, is assigned red. That dot, the dot operator, is how you get data into and out of instance variables. It's also how you call methods of the class. Very important mechanism. And of course, you will have noticed that dot is used, we've been using it several times already, right? Anytime we've used the scanner object, we've used, input dot next int. Anytime we have used, thread dot sleep, right? We've seen dot quite a bit so far. And indeed, system dot out dot print line. The dot operator means you are accessing a member of the class or a member of the object, right? Be that a variable or a method, dot is how you do it. This is a reasonably universal convention among object-oriented languages. One particular exception is PHP, the language of 1,000 curses, which uses arrow instead of dot because it wanted to use dot for concatenation and only concatenation, because it didn't want to use plus for concatenation because it doesn't want to use its operator for multiple things, despite being a dynamically typed loose language. It's so stupid. Anyway, dot syntax, that's how you access things. You can see that here we are storing data in the object, here we are retrieving it. Make sense? Very good.
So Professor, did you name the source cell?
Did I do the what now?
Did-
Oh.
No, not now. the
Yes, that
button.
was the part of the class that you guys weren't here for.
Yes, that's why it's giving me.
So, this is the normal and more compact way of declaring classes. This will come up a bit later when we're declaring arrays of objects, but for now, this is the compact form that I would expect most of you will be using. I now have two cats, Mr. Whiskers and Molly. Molly's fur color, I'm assigning blonde. Mr. Whiskers, red. You can see that when I access the variable from either of these objects, I'm getting both red and blonde. Important principle. The instance variables of an object are not shared with other objects of the same class. The data is independent. Does that make sense? It's a small point, but it's important, right? These variables are not shared between objects. They are particular to particular instances. That's why they're called instance variables. Make sense? Any questions? All right. Very good. I am actually going through all of this, I'm just using our own class to do it with. The example which is presented in the notes is, like the notes really like geometry-based examples. So if you had a class for a circle, which had radius, an x and a y component, you'd have an analogous situation to our cat classes. So, here's an interesting thing. What do you think happens if we do that? Aside from the fact that IntelliJ is like, really? Really? I've got some underlines for you, are you sure? What are we doing? What have we done? Any guesses? Yes.
Mr. Whiskers now share the same memory box as Molly and memory?
Does Mr. Whiskers now share the same memory box as Molly? Yes. Let's take a look at memory for a moment, shall we? So, in memory, we create two instance variables representing object references. We have Mr. Whiskers and we have Molly. We are now creating, so on line 4, we create the cat object corresponding to Mr. Whiskers, assign the reference. On line 5, we both create Molly, create the object, and assign the reference in one go. Realistically, in the compiler, these are of course broken down into their constituent operations, right? Just because you've put a bunch of things on one line doesn't mean it does it all at once, right? It's always broken down into its operations, and those actually are executed one at a time, right? But that's okay. So on line 6, we are assigning the value of Mr. Whiskers to Molly. The value of Mr. Whiskers is an object reference to this object. By assigning that to Molly, we are removing this reference, copying this reference over. So, what's going to get hit by the garbage collector? Class 1 or class 2?
2.
2 is correct. 2 is going to be deallocated. There's no live reference to it, so the garbage collector is going to come for it. Does that make sense? Again, these are reference types.
So, what you're saying is like, because there is no specific like instruction for the garbage collector, it automatically goes for cat 1?
So the way the garbage collector works is when the program detects that it's beginning to run low on memory, it goes through the existing memory looking for memory it can clear. That's the garbage collection routine. realistically, for the programs we're writing here in class, these programs wouldn't be running long enough to activate the garbage collector. But basically that just means that hangs out in memory until the program ends and that all the memory goes away. And there is no way to get back to it once you've broken the reference. So that's it. So we can prove this. Oop, no, not debug. Cancel. There we go. But we still get the output. So you can see before we had red and blonde which were being printed. Now we get 2 instances of red. That's because, despite the fact that these are different instances, different object references, both references are to the same object. So, writing to fur color here on line 8, writing blonde, that gets stored here. Writing on line 9, red to fur color in Mr. Whiskers. Mr. Whiskers points to the same object, writes here, overwrites the previous thing that was written. And then, therefore, when we asked to read that fur color from Mr. Whiskers,
It'll read it as red.
yes, we read it through here, we get that reference. When we read through Molly, Molly points here, we read it here, they're both red. Question?
So, just a question, if I swap the order of blonde and red, and like their lines, if I move red up above blonde, would I get blonde when I run it as well?
What do you think?
Yes,
Yes.
because it goes in order, because reading Java, it goes in order, so it'll think blonde overwrote red.
Yes, sir.
And there you go.
Okay.
So did they talk to you guys about swap operations in Python?
Nope.
Alright, it's a little bit of a tangent, but it's an extremely important one to understand how computer systems work and how memory works. Because that's essentially what we're talking about right now is memory. For those of you who came in a bit late, past sessions, these are to help you with Java, highly recommended. Students who attend past sections have like a 18 to 20% grade improvement versus students who don't, on average. So, Java Extra Help, past sessions. Room E033, Thursdays 5 to 6, Fridays 12 to 1. Boom.
Starting next week.
Starting next week, yeah, thank you. So swap operations. Just gonna make a new class for this very quickly. So let's say I had an integer x with a value of 5 and an integer y with a value of 10. Right? I want the 10 to be in x and I want the 5 to be in y. Right? Your inclination might be to do this. Well, x should be y and y should be x. Right? That makes sense. Can anybody see the problem?
Might be confused
It might-
because both of them would equal each other, so it would make no sense to run them at the same time.
Oh, I'm not running the right. Run this one. There you go. Well, I run this program, and it looks like x is 10, which we want, and y is 10, which we don't want. X we wanted it to have the value 5, and in fact, 5 has been lost. It has been destroyed. It has been deallocated.
Because they made y equal x and x equal y, so that's why it got overwritten.
Yes, the whole problem is that it was overwritten. It's very important to understand that this sequence of programming operations does not occur simultaneously. These operations occur one at a time. We assign x, we assign y. We assign x, it has a value of 5. We assign y, it has a value 10. We write the value of y into x, but that is a destructive process. We have lost the 5 on line 5, coincidentally enough. Then when we write the value of x back into y, it's the same value that it's being written back in. No change, although it would still write it. When we asked to see x and y, that's the situation we're in. So, how do we fix the problem?
I'm just guessing, should we move the integer x equal 5 after the, no, that would make it equals to 5 again, right? If we put it after the x equal y,
Also, let's imagine that this bit happens somewhere in the middle of a long program, and perhaps several times. Maybe this is inside of a loop, right? We can't pull in, like, it would fix the problem to, like, just manually assign 5 to y down here, but that, you're basically hard coding the solution, right? Yes?
I don't know if this would work, but x comma y equals y comma x.
See, that's Python. Python allows you to do that, and it's using a dirty little trick. Yeah, it's Python is actually doing it the way I'm about to describe to you, but it's just hiding that from you. It's not like Python can't perform simultaneous assignment. It's the CPU and the hardware that prevents it from doing that. The software cannot transcend the hardware, right? So, how does Python do it? What does it do? How do we solve this problem? Because I assure you, swapping memory values is something you need to do very frequently, particularly if you're doing useful things like sorting algorithms. I read in a textbook once that it was estimated, like maybe 20 years ago, that 30% of all CPU time is spent sorting data. But you know, what with AI, I don't know if that's changed, probably. It's a lot of, you know. Although I'm not sure how much of like the neural net stuff that's going on there is actually starting. That's a tangent. How do we fix this? We have to introduce something. And incidentally, I consider this absolute fundamentals of computing, and it is a tragedy to me that you weren't taught this in intro programming. You guys should have been taught this in intro programming, because this is very basic about how assignment operations work. How do you fix this? You want me to just tell you? Yeah? You need a third variable. There's no way to do it without having a third variable. So, you don't do this. The first thing that you do, alright, let's put ourselves back here. The first thing you do is you store the value in x in the swap variable. Swap is equal to x. Now that the value has been saved, we can safely move this over here. X is equal to y. Now, so this was 1, this is 2, this is 3. We swap the value, we take the value out of the swap space, put it into y, right there. Y is equal to x. Or not x, swap, pardon me. And there you have it. Swap is no longer necessary unless you're going to be performing more swaps. You can reuse it, right? But that is the only way to swap memory. This is what Python is doing when it lets you do that very, very cheesy x comma y is equal to y comma x, right? You see why I kind of casually hate Python, right? Because Python permits that kind of shenanigans and hides those sorts of memory details from you, you're a worse programmer if you learned that in Python, right? That's why you gotta learn Java. A Java program is honest. It does everything, everything it does is in the program, right? It's not doing a bunch of fiddly fudging shenanigans behind your back to try to make it look like it's a cool language. Like, is it slightly cool that Python does that thing with the commas? Yeah, you know, it's a little cool. Is it good for learning? No. Like, that's kind of the paradox of Python, is like, everybody thinks it's a good language for learning how to program, but like, it isn't.
Thank you. My dad keeps insisting that.
Yeah? Well, I agree with your dad. What does your dad think is a good language to learn? Or have I misunderstood the situation and you're the person who doesn't think Python and you're, I don't know. Anyway, I probably shouldn't weigh into family arguments.
You probably shouldn't.
Alright. I agree with your dad is probably a phrase I should never utter, except in cases where your dad has told you something like, eat your breakfast, go to bed on time, don't spend all night playing video games. In those cases, I agree with your dad. Okay. Yeah, so just an important addendum on this for objects. Object references work the same way because it's memory. That's how memory works. Make sense? Any questions? Alright, well, I guess, oh, yes,
I have a question.
sure.
So in this case, if let's say for example, if you had a variable that was lowercase x and a variable that was uppercase x, how Java would treat those two variables?
Does it let you? I don't know if it lets you declare a variable with an uppercase first identifier. Let's try test. X is equal to 6. Oh, it does. These would be different variables. But you're, so this is technically legal, you know, but shall we say strongly against convention? So the purpose of reserving capitals for class names is so that quickly scanning the code you can always tell what a class is, what things are classes and what things aren't, right? So because you've now, in this case, you've got a capital hanging out, even if it's just X, right? Because you've got a capital here, someone who's like quickly reading your code, and let me tell you, you always want to be quickly reading code, they're gonna make a mistake. And they're gonna think, why on earth is this person printing a class name, right? So it works, but you don't want to do it. Make sense? Good question. Yes.
Oh, I have another question.
Yes.
So you said earlier by convention you want classes to have like to start with a capital letter. So do you have any issues with the swap because it's like on a small like lowercase, like this class? It's like swap Java.
Oh yeah.
Is that-
I shouldn't have done that.
But is that like okay?
Yeah.
Or would you have issues with that normally?
It won't. Again, it won't cause issues in the compiler, but it's not a good idea. So let me show you how to fix it because it's a little fiddly, right? If you do that, just fix it. It's like, you can't do that. So Java does expect the class name to match the file name, right? So you'll see I have a red squiggle here as well, swap.java. I know that you probably can't see that in the back, but it's there. So there are a couple of ways to do that. Right click, refactor, rename file.
Oh.
There you go. There's your very quick and easy IntelliJ way of doing that. The refactor menu is like uber super duper powerful. Yes?
Does that automatically change any references in other files, or it does?
Yeah, it's very good about that. IntelliJ is a fantastic editor. It's very, very good at Java. Any other questions? Good questions. Okay, in that case, we will have our mid-class break for 15 minutes. Please be ready to resume class at 10:45. And in the intervening time, please make sure you have your assignment ones pulled up because we're going to be doing code review. Yes.
Something's going on with my thing.
No.
Oh, mine's the exact same.
Okay.
I see you borrow my cord.
You guys both have the same so let's see if that text doc is open or not.
Oh yeah, it's because it's saying it's not
They
key.
might
Just use that one if you already have one. Just use that one if you already have one. There's no need to buy a whole new
It's
board.
being overwritten.
I don't know if I left that at home in my bag or what.
Yeah, but if you don't know, just want to spend the money.
Yeah, just wait until,
Yeah, exactly.
no matter what, no one's gonna be here.
So you're still
Just
doing
whatever
the
you
overwrite.
next care.
Ah, okay.
Does anyone want to attend to this? We've been out of shopping croissants for like the past 5 months. Yeah, guys, gotta get those points. We live in a point-based society. It's
No,
just
it's on
like
the
a
phone. I'm
Black
talking
Mirror
about card.
episode. I was gonna make a piece of Black Mirror.
I did keep my old sample board cards out. I have it somewhere.
I just got the digital one, but I never use it. I hate the
I've never used a digital one
I
either.
feel like I've only ever gotten like free hash brown on that stuff, and it's just like, it's not worth the hassle looking at it.
I love how he also takes a break during the break and just leaves.
It's a break for him too.
So I did the most extra shit for the in-class exam will be overlapped. I just need to finish what I'm doing right now, and then I can show you that I have, like I have an overloaded constructor and other thing. This is the in-class example. I did that now, I'm just putting extra shit for fun. No. The assignments, it's not quite done.
I'm almost entirely done the assignment. All I have to do is make the rows different colors.
Alright.
But I don't know if I want to do that.
Look at this bullshit. Okay, so I have an overloaded constructor, so I have 2 cats. I should wait. I just realized I should put their names too, or whatever for now. So that's one that I inputted. And this one down here is the overloaded constructor. What is it right here?
I just have a lot of videos.
Fusion stage 2. Fuck, I never know what to do. The water roll. The water tank. Yeah. Magic Curve is not bigger. Magic Curve is about the same size as the pool. Magic Curves are huge.
No, it's still so like, so. Nothing like so one.
Starting with these squares. It has that on it.
مش هيفتح مش هيفتح
It's like the word over the mountain. Not that I see.
Did you try bang?
It is not.
No, it's a water type.
No, let me know.
Tentacle?
Okay,
It could be tentacle actually. No.
not too big.
Oh, is it small?
It is in between 1 meter and 10 centimeters and 1 meter and 90 centimeters.
Oh, fucking big.
It's not. I think it's smaller.
Sorry?
It's also the second evolution.
Did you try the second evolution started?
Yeah.
Oh, is it double?
من بين واحد من بين واحد
I think so.
Yeah.
So it's
Purple.
why is it wrong؟
Totally wrong.
هو كان طالب الأسايمنت المناسبة والإنفالid يرجع لعنا valid وكان الواي روز أصغر من واحد أو أكثر
I don't know how to do that.
system output
It's like but
No, it's
اللي أنا عارفة كتير
that's not one.
I'm really not. Oh, it's the bird.
It could no. Wait, it could be what's that?
I can identify very easily what Pokemon that is, but I'm not a Pokemon.
That was running. Oops. Oh well. Okay, exercises. Let me give you a task. By the way, we're not going to be able to finish week 3 today, I'm sorry. We'll have to take it up next week. Exercises week 3. So, you should have time, because I'm doing a code review, to do actually all of these. So, I haven't shown you UML class diagrams yet. So skip that, but if you wouldn't mind, in Java, create classes for each of the following descriptions. A bank account associated with a customer name, account ID, balance, and annual interest rate. Square object having location, color, size, can be filled, unfilled, etc. A TV can be on or off. It can set channels from 1 to 1,000, etc. A student having a name, ID, 5 grades, etc. And a video game player object having a user ID, location, color, health, etc. So, in the same manner that we created the cat class with a few instance variables, please create these all of these objects in the same manner with the instance variables, and, if you wouldn't mind, pull them into your main class, make an object from them, and test them out a little bit, the same way that we did with the cat object. Sound good? And also, dun dun dun, it's code review time! All right, if everybody could please get your code up, yes?
Could you release the document so that we can access it on our?
Oh, is it not released? Let's see. Oh yeah, okay. Boop, there you go. The document is released. Please have your work so far on assignment 1 open on your computer. I will come around and examine. Let me just give me a moment to look up how Gilbert did the grading. He left a thing in the thing. Okay. Same pen I used to grade tests. Yeah, so I don't grade your tests with anything fancy, it's just a pick. If I may.
In hindsight, I should have put the line if it was make the line somewhere like a bit lower. So that's how it's with the rest of the drawing. Well, I just a couple of pointers. Number one, this is not conforming to the documentation standards, so please make sure that's on the board. How so? You're supposed to have labeled input, processing, output in those sections. If there's a document on. So like here I have to put. No, you just have to, like, there is like 3 comments you need to put in the document where you start input, where you start processing, and where you start output. Like, you're just like generally chunking according to those categories. It's in, there's a assignment there's a documentation standards document on Canvas that'll give you that. So you put input in all these. It has to have asterisks. You'll see it. Number 2. While true and break is something we don't really like to do, consider reformatting it like but otherwise, it looks like you have made very good progress. So, good work. Nah. I just need to focus. I'll run it myself when I mark it. Hello. What is your number? 971-406-4. And your name? Like that? So let me see the chat. Take me. Alright.
But also, I don't wanna,
You could easily reformat these to input files. Like you've actually got like all you have to do is change that to do, that to while, and put it outside the curve, like, and move it to the next line, and remove the break, and you got it. No, I'm just talking about the format of the code itself.
That's the name of the class.
Check this out. Well, you've put your like according to the
I haven't read that we gave, I was gonna do it.
works. It's just kind of like not put the form lines. It might find it a little difficult to do the documentation standards. There's a documentation standards document. You should take a look at it before you submit. But good comments.
Keep forgetting.
Very good.
Now we have
Thank you. So let's take a look. Oh, what's your name? M-I-S.
Try running up into yours.
Misha? M-I-S-H-A. Yeah, I thought it was right. That's right. Your number?
What was that, Jacob?
97062. That's a digit short. 97062.
But the whole thing.
17, sorry.
Yes, there we go. So, yeah, just.
Do math operations just like do that? Is it meant to be like a strange algorithm? I'm trying to figure something out.
Um,
I think you wanna add the comments, so I just gotta add that to the for statement, and then I don't have the whole title yet, but that's just like the for statement, so it's just like the and then.
I have two things to say to you. Number one, documentation standards. There's a document that tells you what sorts of comments are required for this one.
Oh, okay.
It's there in Canvas, and very good. Very good. Only I have to add a few on that. Number two, it doesn't seem like it loops in case it gets bad values.
It's, no, it goes to default values.
Oh, you said, oh.
So,
yeah, okay,
Like,
okay,
I already set up like a grid of how it would look if you input it in.
Just double check the documentation to see if you're supposed to read prompt.
Okay.
I don't know if that's like convention or it's there in the document, but just double check.
Yeah.
Okay, very good. Good job. Alright, let's see how we're doing.
So that, I don't have any validation yet.
I just want to see your code.
Call it its own, everything has its own method.
You had thread.sleep in this.
I did. But no, not interrupted. I don't know why I did interrupt. Yeah, I did have to go sleep. That's why. I had it for testing. Sort of a chaotic case. I don't know what any of this is, to be honest.
You mean like the Java FX stuff? It's like,
Yeah, I used a swing.
oh, I got you. Alright, yeah. I like how I'm back to this.
I just haven't used documents or anything yet. I haven't done that, my comments.
Also, maybe, let's see here, validation.
I haven't done that yet either.
Yeah, that's the other thing.
Validation and there's like a few things that I'm gonna add.
What's your number?
000 975 140, I think.
Name?
Potter.
I'm gonna do 4. Thank you. Yeah, we worked on it.
I hope you're hungry for some spaghetti. It's not that bad. It's not that bad. I just give myself no credit ever.
Well, and that's, it's, so you are doing your work inside the
On the next one. But, yeah.
Yeah. And then, yeah, I was looking at my notes, so I said,
Yeah, yeah, that's certainly a program.
Yep.
What's your number?
000-967-268.
Name?
Mary.
Just, review the documentation guide for assignment 1, as I don't see, we haven't got any
Yeah,
comments.
I did not add any comments yet, I still need to do that.
Awesome. Alright, what's your number?
000-981-076.
And your name?
BILAL.
E-I-L-A-L. Bilal? Alright. I will use my eyes. This is curious to me, I'm not quite sure that works.
That's what it is. There are select all the pieces of the collection, select all the system, and then you can modify it.
So, cool. Alright,
This is,
Well,
it's not the IDE that you use
You've
for
done.
robotics, but I like the IDE
Good
for
work.
robotics.
just make sure that you review the documentation standards.
I'll go over.
Very good, very good. Woohoo! What's your number?
000-97-2232.
Your name?
Is Joao, J-O-A.
J-O-A-A.
We can go back on it.
Okay.
At the moment, storage, recommendation.
I might as well just get you a form out then.
And text readiness in the background of the game display area.
This is a nice little tool.
I still have to wait a little bit in some part of the comment. I already did some parts in the main plot, but in the end I'm lacking a bit because I'm just running into some turkeys first. Yeah.
Good work.
First of all,
Any idea? You can give me about the
What's your
image?
Um,
Because right background thing.
well, what is,
So I have my image. I tried to put inside of a folder because I saw on the stackable fold
let's see here. Can I get your tooltips? Image, okay, so you'll need to there's something like an image, right? And the hat and image, and then follow the documentation for how that goes. It probably wants, yep, by URL it means
Yeah.
so. Then plug that in there, and you should be okay.
Thank you so much.
Very welcome. Good work. Hello. Yeah. What's your number?
001-243-81.
Name?
They're getting caught in the crossfire.
All right. Let's see here. Yeah. Yeah, looks like you got a little bit left to go, but yeah, make sure you review the documentation standards before you submit. But, good progress, good progress. Yeah, I don't see any obstacles in that approach will be good. Guten Tag. What's your number?
000-97.
987.
97.
Oh, 97.
16.
16.
17.
97, 16, 17.
Yep.
Very good. And your name?
Rowan.
Like that, I assume?
Rowan. Just
With a W.
Yes. Sorry, my voice kind of dying on me.
Yeah. You sick?
A little.
Alright. In that case, I'll, Alright, let me see. Let's see where
So I'm having a little problem with this thing right now.
Ah, JDK Liberica's
Oh, that's
21
not
is missing.
installed. That's
Strange.
good.
Oh, how did you get to this? Is it through Mohawk Apps or the native installation?
Mohawk Apps.
Ah, okay. So, when you're on the lab computers, it's actually installed here and correctly configured. So, this is actually a version that's no longer being supported.
Could have sworn I went through that one.
Hmm?
Could have sworn I went through that one.
Well, maybe. Let me see here. See what you have in there.
This was the
This is what you were working on.
yeah, that's all commented out. That's different. That was like stuff I was working on before the nice direct. I just forgot to get rid of it. Down below is like the stuff
Mhm.
that they have.
J option pane is not not what you're looking for. You already know that.
This actually won't work. I don't know why. Am I supposed to be using something different?
You can actually just leave it dangling. You don't have to close it.
I try leave it dangling and just look for another input for some reason.
Well, interesting. Well, got some bugs. Sure. One thing that you can try is reading next line immediately after reading the integer and then throwing out the value. That might fix the problem there. But
So what do you mean?
just on the next line, just input.next line. Has to be next line because that consumes the new line character. And try that. But of course you have to like fix the problem with it not loading Java FX first.
all at once.
Um,
From exercises.
Okay. Okay for time? Yeah, we're doing great for time actually. All right. What's your number? 9223. 3, 3, yeah, 3, 7. Okay, and your name? Thus? Awesome. Can I see your phone, please? My poor old man eyes. Increase that. Okay. Allow me to read. What are you confused about? Hmm. Well, I can see a couple of problems with it right now. So, take this as an instance, right? While score is greater than high score, right? Please enter a valid score. Fair enough. That's your condition for it being invalid. But you're not rereading it in the loop. Right? So, if you were to get in this loop, there would be no way out. This would be an infinite loop. That would fix it. Yeah. Just keep in mind when you're writing loops, if these guys, if like something in the condition has to change inside the loop itself, or you end up in an infinite loop. Okay? Similar problems everywhere. Well, we still got a ways to go. We gotta sort all that out. So I'm going to give you 3 out of 4. Okay. Is this bloody thing still running? I'm sorry. There we go. All right, let's talk about methods. So, methods. Methods are things that go in classes too. Methods are functions, right? Your functions that you know and love from Python, these are methods. The only thing that makes it a method is that it's a member of a class. That's it, right? Methods, that's Java and C# terminology. Are there any, I think somebody at the back had like some C++, is that right? Yeah, so what do they call them in C++?
Sorry, I wasn't paying attention.
What do they call methods in C++?
God, I don't know the terminology.
Member functions.
Thank you.
Yeah. So I actually prefer C++ terminology. I think it's a little bit more clear.
I just don't know the terminology for anything. I know
Yeah.
what things are and I know what they do. I don't know what to call them.
Yeah. Well, that's fair enough. That's why you go to school, right?
Yeah, fair.
Yeah. So I kind of prefer the C++ terminology. It's a little more clear. Member function, member of what, member of the class. Member variable, member of what, member of the class. Nevertheless, so a couple of differences, right, between, like one primary difference between methods as defined in Java and functions as defined in Python. Can anybody tell me what the difference is? Let's play spot the difference. I'll give you a hint. It's the very first token. That's right. On this side, we are declaring the function, we're declaring the method of type integer. Here, we are not. Right? This is because Python hates types, type-phobic. Java, type-philic. So, in Java, we have a strict type checker. In order for the type checker to be happy, we need to know what the output type of the function, what the output type of the method is. Must know that at all times. Even if it doesn't return anything, you still need to know that. Any idea what we use when a method doesn't return anything?
Void.
Void, that's right. Void means nothing. So, let's see, what's our main again? Public, static, void, main. So what does void on main mean? It means that main doesn't return anything, right? Very good. So if you return something from main that's not nothing, that's a syntax error. Make sense? You add methods to a class in the same way that you add instance variables. A very simple method. Declaring the method as a string, method name is speak, return the string meow. Obviously these things get more complicated. In general, in Java, we are trying to break long procedures up into methods. Right? This is a key part of object-oriented programming. We want to hide program. We want to hide it inside of methods, present the interface. Right? So, yeah. Let's see here. In Java, all statements except variable declarations must be inside of a method, and all methods must be inside of a class. I saw a couple of people who were putting classes inside of their main methods for assignment 1. Common mistake. The code inside of main, like some people have been like developing like the command line interaction inside of its own main class, and then they were intending to copy that into. But they took the class when they did the whole thing. So just be aware, it's very, very important in Java to understand what is inside of what, right? The outermost thing will always be a class, right? The methods go in the class. Your programming code proper goes inside methods. Alright? Does that make sense? Don't put classes inside classes. It's technically allowed, but not what we're going for here. Right? Certainly don't put classes inside of methods. Alright? Yes?
Quick question, so for the assignment one, you have like your outer class, which is like the graphics template then, and then you have two methods inside. Is
Yes.
that like how it works? Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
In assignment 1, all of the class and method level details have been taken care of for you. By assignment 2, however, you will need to be writing your own classes and methods.
Oh, okay.
But that's okay. The thing you're going for is lots of small methods. A small method is a small program. Small programs are easy to debug. Long programs are difficult to debug. So, the smaller and shorter your methods are, the easier a time you will have of it. So, when you run a Java class, the main method executes. The thing that makes a main method the main method is the fact that it's called main. The public static void is not some kind of magic incantation that makes main the executable, right? It's the name main itself that does that. You can create methods that are not main, that are public static and void, right? It's the main that is the main thing, so to speak. So, parameters and local variables must be declared using types, yes. When you call a method, arguments are matched to parameters by position. There are no keyword or optional parameters like in Python. So, here is a very, very important thing, order of execution. And this will be the last thing actually, I'm out of time. The thing I was going to say, when you execute a method, the return result of the method is substituted into the expression in place. So if I have something like 5 plus x dot get y, if that's an expression, this method is executed first, it's resolved into its return value, and the expression is rewritten. Let's say that y was 7, right? It's substituted for the value 7. The rest of the expression is executed, and then that's assigned to x or whatever you're doing with it. Right? Order of operations. Alright, thank you very much for your time and attention today, folks. We will continue with object-oriented programming next Thursday, presuming there's no meteor strike, snow event, sudden illness, or invasion from the Americans.
Submission is on Sunday, right?
Hmm?
Submission for me is
Submission for a